Hey everyone, so it's been a minute since I've done a React tutorial, so that's what this is going to be. It's going to be a React application that allows you to create memes. Now there's a couple of concepts you're going to want to have a decent grasp on before doing this tutorial, and that's going to be basic, beginner level React, and also hooks. And I've got videos on both of those, and I'm including links in the description below. If you're not familiar with hooks, or if you've never used React, go ahead and watch those two videos and then come back to this. So let me go ahead and demo what we're going to be building. But before that, I just want to say, please, if you have not yet, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. Let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be building. All right, so this is what we're going to be building. You can see here we're presented with a screen, and here's a meme and some inputs. Now I can skip to the next meme if I want, or I can type into these inputs to create the captions for the meme. In this case, we have two captions, so I'm just going to say me learning React, and then I'm going to click generate. And you can see it creates a meme. We can click this, it copies a link to the image so that you can easily share it with friends. And then you can make more memes, and you can see you can skip through and you can make all sorts of memes. Some of these memes have many different captions that you can add. And this is what we're going to be making. We're going to be using a lot of different React concepts in this, but it will be kind of a small app, which is great because you'll learn a lot, but it won't take that long. Cool, so if this project looks interesting to you, go ahead and stick around, and let's go ahead and get started building this thing. So to start with, I need to go ahead and install the latest version of NPM. I already have the latest version of NPM, but I'll show you what you need to do in order to make sure that you are fully updated. So you're gonna type in npm install -g npm, and you're gonna go ahead and let this run, and this is going to install the latest version of NPM on your machine. And now that you have the latest version of NPM, you're gonna have access to npx if you didn't already. And npx is a package runner, and we're gonna use this in order to run create React app. Again, so since we're gonna be using npx to run create React app, just in case you have create React app installed globally on your machine, we're gonna wanna go ahead and run npm uninstall -g create React app. So go ahead and run that. It will uninstall create React app. And when we use npx to run create React app, it's always going to make sure you're running the latest version. Cool, so now that you have gotten rid of your global version of create React app in case you had it, let's go ahead and run create React app to create a new React application using npx. So just simply type in npx and make sure you're in the directory where you want to create your React app. And let's go ahead and type in npx create React app, and then the name of the app, which in this case is gonna be meme creator. And press enter and sit tight while it creates the React app for you. You ever just think about life while you're waiting for stuff to install? Like by the time it's done installing, you've already thought about everything that you've ever done in your entire life, what you've done wrong, what you should have done to fix those situations. Ah yes, it's like shower thoughts, but installation thoughts. Anyway, cool, so we have finished installing the app. So what we're gonna do is cd into the app. So cd and then the name of the app, which is meme creator. And now when I ls, you can see that we have the basic directory structure of the application that we would expect. So we're gonna install two dependencies for this application. The first one is gonna be use clipboard copy. So you wanna type in npm install use -clipboard -copy. Go ahead and install that. We're gonna be using this to basically copy the image URL to the user's clipboard. Once that's done, go ahead and install the second dependency, which is react-router-dom, which we're going to be using for routing inside of our single page app. So go ahead and install that as well. Now that those dependencies are installed, I went ahead and opened up the project inside of VS Code. I use VS Code for editing code. You can use any editor you prefer, but I do recommend VS Code. And I'm going to go inside of my package JSON file. And I just want to make sure that use clipboard copy and React router DOM are in fact inside of here. That's just to help confirm that it did install correctly. So once that's done, I want to open up my source folder, and I want to kind of get rid of some of the files I'm not going to be using and kind of rearrange the directory a little bit to fit my preferences. And I'm gonna start inside of the app.js file. Now, inside of this, you can see that there's a bunch of default React stuff. I'm gonna get rid of the logo because I don't want the React logo inside of my application. And if you look here, the way that the CSS file is imported, we're actually gonna be using CSS modules for this. And the way CSS modules works is it sort of prepends a string to each class so that you don't get leaks in between components. So I'm gonna get rid of this, but we'll bring it back later. Just keep it in mind for now. Another thing I like to do is convert this to an arrow function. I don't really want a function declaration, it's just not my preference. So I'm gonna say const app equal parentheses and then put in my arrow. So now it is a arrow function. But I'm also gonna get rid of this export default. I don't do default exports really. So I can get rid of that and then put the export up here. So now we're just saying export const app, and I'll show you what the difference is in a moment. But right now I want to get rid of this return. I don't want any of this. So I'm gonna put hello world in here just to get things going, and save. So this is what my app.js looks like currently. And I need to delete this logo. I don't want this logo at all in the project. And inside of this app.css, I'm gonna actually get rid of all of this CSS, and I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna rename this styles.module.css. And in the source folder here, I'm going to create a new folder called app. So each component is gonna have its own folder, and I'm gonna drag app into the app folder, and I'm gonna drag the styles.module.css into that folder as well. And if I close the folder, you can see it's a little bit more organized. I'm gonna delete this test because we're not gonna be doing any tests in this tutorial. I want to go inside my index.js file, and I have to make sure that I update the import here, because you can see we're importing the old app. We need to do app/app because now we're inside of an app folder. Also, I said that we're not doing a default export. The thing you have to change in your import now is you have to cut this out and then put in 2 curly braces, and then you're basically destructuring out the app from the file. So that's what this looks like. When you're importing from a component that does not have a default export, this is what it's gonna look like. Another thing I wanna make sure that I do really quick is wrap my app component inside of a browser router, which we installed React Router DOM as a dependency. So we need to import it really quick. And it's not a default export, so we're gonna use curly braces and say browser router, and we're gonna import that from React Router DOM, and we just simply want to wrap our app inside of browser router tags like this. And this just gives our app access to the context that browser router provides, and we'll be able to use some really cool functions thanks to browser router. Let's see, next thing I wanna do is just go back into my app folder into the app.js, and I wanna import my styles now, but we're gonna import it different than how we were before. We don't wanna import the raw CSS, we wanna import it as if it were an object. So we're gonna say import styles from, and then / to say the directory we're currently in, styles.module.css. So now we're importing that, but I'm going to comment this out for now because it's not being used. And the way that I have my ESLint set up is we'll get a warning if there's variables that are not being used in the code. So I'm just gonna comment it out for now. And I wanna see if this app compiles right now. So I'm going to run npm start inside my terminal just to see if the app will compile. So let's see what happens here. Cool, compiled successfully, and I don't see any warnings. Now, if I bring my browser window over here, you can see hello world is right here. And if I click inspect and I go to the console, I don't see any errors. So it compiled correctly. So far, so good. However, even though it compiles, this is a pretty boring app so far. All it does is say hello world. We don't want it to do that. We want to show some memes. So what we're gonna do is begin coding out the stuff. As I said, we're gonna have a different directory for every single component. Well, we wanna create a new component. So inside of the source folder, I'm gonna create a new folder, and I'm just gonna call this one meme. This is where our meme component's gonna go. We want 2 files inside of this. We want meme.js, and of course, we want styles.module.css. So inside of meme, I'm going to go ahead and get the boilerplate code knocked out. So I'm importing React from React, and then I'm exporting a arrow function called meme that returns some JSX. I don't want to change the JSX yet, but I just want to make sure that everything's working good. So inside of the app, instead of returning hello world, what I want to do is return meme. And when I save it, I want to make sure that the browser reflects hello, which it does here. Let me make this bigger for you guys. Okay. So as you can see, it's returning the word hello. So we know that the app is working as expected. So what's the very first thing that we want to do here? Well, we're going to need to go to the API, and we're going to need to get some memes. We can't do anything if we don't have any image sources. So what we need to do is go ahead, hop into our code, go to the meme component, and we want to go ahead, and when this component loads, we want to go ahead and make a call to the API, grab some memes, and then do stuff with the data that we get from the API. And we'll worry about that in a second, but for now, let's go ahead and set up the API call. In order to do that, we are going to need use effect. Now I have a tutorial on how React hooks works. I'm going to put the link in the description below. If you're not familiar with React hooks, go ahead and watch that video really quick and then come back to this video. But I'm going to assume you at least have a basic understanding of effects, hooks in this video. So let me go ahead and begin. So we want this to only run when the component loads. So I'm going to give it an empty array. And what I want to do is call fetch API. I'm going to make an API call to this URL right here. This is https://api.imgeflip.com/getmemes. And what we want to do is we want to make an API call to that. And then when that resolves, we're going to need to convert that result to JSON. So I'm going to say res.json. Now, .json is a method on the response that actually converts that response to a JSON object. However, that is asynchronous. And since that call is asynchronous, I need to actually call then on that as well. So now this response right here that I'm about to log is actually the JSON response from the server. So I'm gonna go ahead and log res, and I want to go to my browser and see what it logs. And I'm gonna increase the size here so you guys can see that nice and good. And you can see that right here, it's actually logging something. And there is a property on our response called data, and a property on data called memes, which is an array that has 100 objects inside of it. And each object has a box count, a height, an ID, a name, a URL, and a width. Okay, so what is box count? Box count is going to be the number of boxes that are invisible on the image where text will appear. So if there's 2 box counts, then there's 2 captions that you can put on that meme. If there's 3, then you can put 3 captions on that meme. So this is going to tell us how many inputs we want to put on the page for you to write captions inside of. So in this case, there will be 2 inputs. The ID is the ID for the meme. It's just a unique identifier. The name, again, that's pretty obvious. And the URL is actually the URL to the image itself. So if I double click inside of here and copy this, and then go up here, I have to remove the quotation marks and press enter. You can see that we actually have the raw URL to the meme image right here. So this is all that we're gonna need from the API to get started. So let's go ahead and start writing the code that will display the meme. So now that we know what the response looks like, what do we wanna do with the response? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of the console because we don't need that, but I want to pull out the memes array. So I'm gonna say const memes is equal to res.data, because remember that memes exists on the data property of res. So res.data.memes. So now memes is equal to that array. Now what I wanna do is I wanna set that array in state. So I'm gonna need to create some state. And in order to do that, we're gonna need to use state. So make sure, by the way, guys, that you have use effect imported up here. Sorry that I forgot to mention that, but make sure that you have use effect imported up here, or else that previous piece will not work for you. But I'm gonna also import use state. So now we're using use effect and use state. And what I wanna do is say const memes and set memes. And again, this is all stuff that I talk about in the tutorial that I've linked in the description below if you're not familiar with how this works. Set that equal to use state. The initial value is going to be an empty array. And what I want to do is when we get the memes here, I want to actually set memes equal to memes that we are grabbing right here. So I'm setting state equal to what we get from the API. So now that we have memes in state, what I want to do is actually like at least render 1 image. So I'm going to go ahead and create an image tag inside of my return function to render some HTML. But actually what I want to do is make sure that memes exists before that. So I'm going to say memes, and I'm going to use a ternary operator to display an image if memes exists. Otherwise, I'm just going to display an empty element right here. So this just makes sure that the memes exist before I try to display an image with something that doesn't exist. It could break our app. So I'm going to say source and set the source. I'll just set it equal to the first meme that we have. So we'll say memes 0.url. And let's see what we end up with on the page. Okay, it says cannot read property URL of undefined. So really what we need to be checking for is not memes, because we actually are initializing memes with an empty array. We need to check memes.length. So we need to make sure that memes.length is not falsy. And if memes.length is 0, if it's a length of 0, that's falsy. So it will not run this. So what we're doing is making sure that memes.length is essentially greater than 0. So I'm going to save this and see what we end up with here. Perfect. So we have an image here. It's a little big. And actually, there's going to be some global styles that we're going to be adding. So I want to go ahead and just add those global styles now, and I'll talk about them as I'm adding them. And one of the global styles is going to be for this image, so it's going to make it look a lot more presentable. And I think just adding all of the global styles at once will be a good thing to just knock out. So let's go ahead and go inside of our index.css file. And I want you to paste in this code, and there's a link in the description to the code, by the way, so that you can actually copy some and paste some of the things, but I still want you to follow along with the tutorial, even though I am including the code in the description. So first of all, we have background image. We're gonna comment that out for now because we have not grabbed the background image yet. We're gonna do that later, but we want to make sure that the color, in other words, the text color is white. But since we don't have a background image yet, I'm going to comment that out as well because the background is white without the background image. So I'm commenting these two out. Now the buttons, these are some styles for the buttons so that they look a little bit prettier. We're going to override the background color for the buttons individually inside of the modules. This is just a basic style that will apply to all buttons. And same with images. This is a basic style that will apply to all images. Same with inputs. We have some basic styles that will make inputs look slightly better. It's not going to be amazing, but it'll look a little better. And same with the header. So that's what these styles are doing. It's just applying some basic styles to kind of make things look a little bit better while we work through the tutorial. So I'm saving and let's see what the image looks like now. As you can see, the image is still a little bit big, and that's silly of me. The reason why it's this big is because I'm actually zoomed in. So I'm going to zoom back out here so that everything isn't way too big. I hope you can all see everything on the screen, but I'll keep the console zoomed in, but I'm gonna have to zoom this out. So this is what it should look like on your screen. And I'm gonna go ahead and head back to the meme component so that we can move forward. So the first thing I wanna do is I want to add a skip button so that in case we don't wanna edit the current meme we're on, we can at least go to the next meme. So I'm gonna have to add a skip button. In order to do that, I'm going to comment or cut this image out. And instead of just returning the image itself, I'm going to return a container. And I'm going to put this on the next line just to make sure everything looks nice and clean. And inside of here, inside of this container, I will return the image. And on top of the image, I will put a button. And the text for this button will be skip. We want to give it an on click. And the on click that we're going to give it is going to edit some state. But let's just make sure that we actually see the button. Okay, you can see it, but it's a little bit hard to see. So let's give it a little bit of some custom styles here. So what I want to do is go ahead and add a few styles into our modules.css for this particular component. So I'm going to paste in some styles here. We're going to have a container. We don't have it yet, but that container will have a margin top of 50 pixels. The skip button is going to have a orange background color, and the generate button is going to have a blue background color. So these are just the styles that we're going to have. We don't have all of them in our render yet, but don't worry, we'll add them in just a moment. So go ahead and add those styles. And then inside of our meme component, underneath our import for React, I'm going to import styles. So import styles from /styles.module.css. And the way that we're going to access these classes is I'm going to come to the element and I'm going to add class name just like we normally would. And we're going to say styles dot and then the class name, which in this case is skip. So it's like an object. We're saying styles dot skip. Now when I save it and go to it, you can see that the styles are applied. Cool. So now that we have these styles and we know that they are working good, I want to go ahead and add a class to this div here. And I'm going to give it a class name and we're going to do styles dot container. Also, sorry about in the background, there's a storm going on. So if you hear rain, I apologize. But let's go ahead and see what it looks like now. You can see that the margin top has been applied. So it gives it some space and makes it look a little bit better. Cool, that looks a little bit better, but the button doesn't actually do anything. Let's go ahead and make it do something. So what we're gonna do is we're going to add an on click to this button. So on click, and for now, for now, all we're gonna wanna do is log console.log click. And I just want to make sure that that works. So I'm going to open up my console, and when I click the button, I expect to see click appear. So how are we going to make the skip button work? Well, the way that I'm thinking about it is this. I have an index here. We're saying memes and then 0. But what if this was a variable? What if this index was a variable instead of just a hard-coded 0? And whenever we clicked on the button, that variable incremented. So let's say it starts off at 0, but then when we click it, it goes to 1, and then when we click it again, it goes to 2, etc. Let's go ahead and use state to do this. And I'm going to actually create a variable called, we'll just call it like meme index, and set meme index, and set it equal to use state, and we'll initialize it with 0. And then replace the hard-coded 0 with meme index. So inside of our onClick, instead of logging click, what we want to do is say set meme index equal to meme index plus 1. So let's save this and see what happens when we click skip. Awesome, it actually loads the next meme. So now the skip button is working. Now here's the problem with this. When I refresh, every time I refresh, we end up in the exact same order. We want to shuffle this up. We want it to be basically random. So we have 100 memes, which is kind of a lot, but we don't want to see the same memes every single time. We want to shake it up a little bit. So what we want to do is shuffle this memes array. When we set memes right here, when we set memes in state, we want to shuffle it before we set those memes in state so that it's random every single time. So let's go ahead and create a shuffle function, and I'm going to copy and paste this shuffle function because I don't really want to go into how the Fisher-Yates algorithm works. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste the shuffle algorithm. So go into the code in the link in the description and copy the shuffle memes function and paste it underneath these use states. So just like this, I pasted in shuffle memes. And what we want to do is call shuffle memes on memes before we set it. As you can see here, we have the same variable name. It's memes and set memes. And then here we're calling this memes. And I don't like that. It's bad. So let's not do that. I'm going to put an underscore before memes here just to kind of say, hey, this is the local version of memes. And we're going to call shuffle memes with the underscore version and also set memes with the underscore version as well. Now let's see what happens when we save this. When we go here, you can see the first meme is completely random. And when I refresh, it's a different meme. So now we know that every single time we go through this, we have a different order. It's basically random and we won't see the exact same memes every single time we go through. Awesome. So now we see memes and we can go through the memes, but we need to be able to add captions to the memes. And that is where we're gonna go next. We want to be able to add captions to the memes. That's the whole reason that we are doing this, to actually create memes. What we're gonna have to do is we're going to have to use that box count I was talking about earlier to generate some inputs on the screen. And then when the user types in those inputs, we're gonna set state. And then when you click a generate button, which we're going to add in just a moment, when you click that generate button, it's gonna take those captions, it's gonna post a API request to the API. And then when we get that response, what we're gonna have to do is use that response to take the user to the meme page. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start by generating these inputs. Actually, I think it'd be easier just to go ahead and add the generate button first. So let's go ahead and add the generate button. And to do this, I'm simply going to copy the skip button. I'm gonna copy the skip button. And I think I wanna add it, above the skip button. I'm gonna go ahead and paste this and replace skip with generate. And I'm gonna replace the on click portion here with a function that just simply logs the word generate. And I'm also going to change the class from styles.skip to styles.generate. And I'm gonna save and just make sure that that updates as expected. Now you can see the generate button here, and when I clear the console and click it, you can see it says generate. So now we have the generate button and the skip button. Underneath these is where we want to render these inputs. So in order to render out the inputs for the captions, we're gonna have to know how many inputs to render. And remember, we're gonna use box count for that, but also remember that every single time we change memes, we're gonna have to update that box count. We're gonna have a different box count potentially. So what we wanna do is use an effect. And we wanna run this effect whenever the memes index changes. So I'm gonna say use effect, and then inside of the dependency array, I'm gonna add meme index. So whenever the meme index changes, which is when we click that button, we are gonna run the code inside of here. We're actually gonna need access to the memes array as well. And since we're going to be using that, we actually have to add it to our dependency array or else we're gonna get warnings. What I wanna do is check memes.length. So if memes.length exists, in other words, if it's greater than 0, then I want to set some state. And I'm gonna call this state captions. So const captions and set captions equal to use state. And I'm going to initialize this as an empty array. Now, the way that I'm going to think about this is going to be an array of strings. And each string is going to represent the value of the caption for a given input. So let's just say we have 2 box count, and we want to render 2 inputs on the screen for users to type in their captions. The 0th item in that array will be the string value of the first input on the screen. And then index 1, which is the second item in the array, will represent the string value of the second input on the string, and so on. So this is going to be an array of strings. We need to initialize these as empty strings to represent empty values for inputs when they're rendered on the screen, because we're going to use captions to loop through and generate these inputs. You'll understand what I'm saying in just a moment. But in order to loop through an array, or in order to add these to an array, we need to actually create an array. So what I'm going to do is use the array constructor to do this. And we can put the length of the array inside of this constructor. And if you remember, the length of the array is going to be memes, and then the current meme we're on, so meme index, memes meme index is the current meme we are on, and we want to set this length equal to box count for that meme. So whatever the box count is, that's the length of the array. But now we have this empty array with basically, I think, null or undefined inside of it. We want to fill the array, so we're gonna use the fill function and fill it with empty strings. So now we're going to have an array of empty strings where the length is equal to the box count for the given meme we're on. But we want to set captions equal to this. So I'm gonna cut this out and click set captions, and I'm going to paste this. And now we should have some state of an array of empty strings of a length equal to the box count of the meme we're currently on. And in order to test that this is working properly, I'm going to use a temporary effect really quick. And we want to run this whenever captions changes. So I'm going to put captions inside of the dependency array, and this is gonna run whenever captions changes. And you can see that's gonna run whenever we call set captions, which is here. So whenever captions changes, I just simply want to log captions, and that way I can see the value of captions each time it changes. So what I want to do is simply save this and then go to the browser here, and you can see that to begin with here, captions is an empty array. And then we get memes, and now it's an array of 2 empty strings. I'm gonna clear this out and click skip. And you can see now we have another one with 2. And the majority of these have 2, but let's see if we can find one really quick that doesn't have 2, just to make sure that this is working as expected. Cool, this one has 3. One for this arm, one for this arm, and one for the 2 hands. So then when we skip again, you can see it goes back to 2. So it's updating as expected. Awesome. Now what we need to do is use this array to then generate these inputs. So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we'll just simply go to our JSX here, and then we want to render these inputs above the image, but below our button. So I'm gonna add in some curly braces here because we're gonna be throwing in some JavaScript. So what I need to do is map. So I'm gonna say captions.map. Captions is that array. And for every single one of these captions, we also want the index. We want to render out some JSX. So I'm just gonna use parentheses here because that will allow me to easily return an input. So let's see what happens when I do this. I need to add in a key so that React doesn't give us a warning. Every single time we map through and render these inside of a loop, we actually need to add a unique key for every single element. So that's what the index is for here. And I'm saving this, and let's see. Now we have 2 inputs, and I'm gonna keep skipping until I see one with 3. Perfect. So we can see that this is generating an input for every single box that is available on a given meme. Awesome. Now we need to actually do some stuff whenever we type inside of this. So we can type inside of it, but it doesn't do anything. And also when we click generate, it just says generate. Let's actually go ahead and set this up where whenever we type inside of an input, let's say I'm typing in on the first input, it's gonna update the first string in that array. And whenever I'm typing in the second one, it's gonna update the second string in that array, and so on. Let's go ahead and do that. So back in the meme component, whenever we have an on change for this input, we're gonna say on change. I'm going to grab the event. So we're gonna create a function here. I'm gonna grab the event from it, and I'm gonna call a function that we're about to create called update caption. And I want to pass in 2 things. I want to pass in E, which is the event, and I wanna pass in the index, which is the current input we are on, and that we're getting from this map here. So whenever we have an on change event, which is whenever we type inside of that input, we're gonna call this function with the event and the index. So let's create that function. I'm gonna do it probably above the shuffle memes. I'm gonna create this function called const update caption. Remember, it accepts the event and the index. And what do we wanna do inside of this? Well, the very first thing is I'm gonna grab the text from the event. So const text is equal to e.target.value. And I'm just gonna add this or empty string here. That way we don't get an error in case the event is something we're not expecting. This will be a string, and it'll be equal to the text of the event. Cool, so what is it we wanna do with this text? Well, we want to update the captions array on the index that we're currently on, and we want to set that from an empty string to whatever the value of the input is. So let's go ahead and say set captions. And then inside of this, what we want to do is set this equal to a new array. So we're gonna say captions.map because we know that .map returns a new array. Let's go ahead and grab the caption and the index, and I'm gonna call the index I so that it does not collide with this variable here. And I wanna do an if check, okay? So let's do an if else, and I'm going to explain what's going on here. When we're mapping through captions, when we are on the index, the same index that we passed into this function here, in other words, the index of the input that we are editing, if the input that we are editing, if that index is equal to the current index of the caption we're looping through here, then what do we want to return? We want to return the text. In other words, this text right here that we're grabbing from the event. Otherwise, if we're not on that index, we just simply want to return the caption that already exists, which is this variable right here. And remember, we have this effect down here that logs captions every single time we change captions. This will be really helpful for us to see if this is working. So I'm gonna go to the second input, and I'm just gonna type in, this is a test, and you can see it is updating the second string in the array. And when I go to the first one, you can see now it is updating the first one. So this is working as expected. Now we have an array of strings of the values of these inputs. And when we click generate, what we want to do is we want to take these strings and pass them along to the API so that they can create the meme for us and send us back a new image. So before we get into sending this data to the API, I need to go over a couple of things really quickly. This particular API only accepts form data. So we're going to be using a form data object in order to build the body for this post request. So it's not going to be a JSON post request. It's going to be one of form data. And it's pretty easy to understand. I'll explain it as we go through. The second thing I'm going to explain is that you're going to need a password and username in order to send this request to the API. Now I'm going to be using mine, and I'm going to be deleting these credentials. So you cannot use the same credentials that I'm using in this tutorial. You'll need to go and create a free account. It's free. It's very easy to set up on ImageFlip, and I will leave a link in the description. Go ahead and create a free account, and then you're going to want to use your username and password instead of mine. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So with that being said, let's go ahead and build out this form data and this fetch API post request inside of our meme component. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this effect here that just logs captions because I know that it's working as expected now. So I'm getting rid of that. And what I want to do is create a function that I'm going to call generate meme. I'm going to put that underneath update caption. So const generate meme is equal to a function, and generate meme is going to get called whenever we click on the button. Instead of logging generate, I'm going to simply get rid of all of this and just put in generate meme. Make sure you don't put the parentheses here. This should just be the function name. So when I go to generate meme, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is grab the current meme. So const current meme is equal to memes and then meme index. So we want to create a form data object. So to do that, I'm going to create a new variable that I'm going to call form data and set it equal to new form data. And that creates a new form data object for us to work with. Now we're going to set some properties on this form data object. We're going to need to set a few. So I'm going to say form data.append. And each time we do append, the first value passed into append is going to be the name of the item that we're setting. And then the second item that we're passing in is going to be the value. So I'm actually going to copy this and paste it 2 more times because we're going to add 2 more here. The first one is username. Now my username for this is port.exe. Again, you'll put in your username. The second one is password. And again, you're going to put in your password. So mine is ABC123. The third one is template ID. And that is going to be equal to current meme.id. Then what we're going to have to do is loop through captions, and then we're going to have to set a value for each and every single one of those. So it's pretty easy. We're just going to say captions.forEach. And then for every single caption, we're going to grab the caption itself and the index that we are on. And we are going to say for each of these, we want to append some form data. I'm going to use the backticks here. These are not apostrophes, and these are not single quotes. These are the backticks, which on a normal keyboard, at least in the United States, are located below the escape key and above the tab. I'm using the backticks here so I can interpolate a string. And we want to say boxes, and then inside of square brackets, almost like we're accessing an index of an array, which we kind of are, but in string form for the API. we want to pass in the index we're on, which is this index right here. So boxes index, and then the value is going to be text. Value is the second item to append, right? And we're gonna pass in C. So we're just saying form data.append boxes index text, and the value is C. Awesome. So now we have our form data object, and that form data object is going to be the body of our request to the server. So let me go ahead and build this request out. And we're gonna use fetch to do this. And the URI is going to be this URI right here. It's the exact same URI as what we use here, except instead of /get memes, it's /caption image. But we're gonna add a second argument to this fetch, and it's going to be an object. This object is going to have two properties. It's gonna have method, and the method is post, and that's in all caps. And the second property is body. And remember that form data is our body. So now that we've done this, what we wanna do is say then on this, we're gonna pull the response out. And again, we have to convert this response to JSON. So res.json, and again, .json is asynchronous, so we have to call then on that. And we're gonna pull the response from this. And now we have access to the response from the server. And all I wanna do is log it for now. So let's log res and save it, and let's see what happens. Let's see if this works. So apparently the storm had knocked my internet out. All right, let's try and refresh and see if this works. It is up again. So let's just go ahead and put test caption 1 and then test caption 2, and then click generate and see what happens here. Cool, we get a response from the server with a success of true. And inside of here, we have a page URL and a URL. And it's the URL that I'm worried about. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, and then in the new tab, I'm gonna paste it in, and I have to get rid of these quotes. And I'm going to press enter, and now you can see this actually generated a meme. And it gave us the URL to that meme, that URL, which we can then use that URL to display the generated meme that we just created. But we don't wanna do it here. We wanna do this in a new component. This is where the router is going to come in, because we're going to, whenever we successfully generate a meme, when we create a meme, we're going to want to route to a new component and then display that meme. So what we need to do in order to route in between components is two things. One, we're gonna actually have to go back into our app component, and instead of just simply rendering meme like we are right here, let me show you. Instead of just rendering meme here, we're gonna have to render a switch, which is going to be consisting of different routes. And depending on the route we're on, we'll render a specific component. And inside of meme, this is the second part of this, we want to actually go ahead and change the URL inside of this response here. So let's go ahead and knock that part out first. Let's go ahead and change the URL first. And what we're going to use in order to do that is use history, okay? So let's go ahead and come right here and say const history is equal to use history, okay? And you're gonna have to make sure that you import that from React Router DOM. That imports automatically for me due to VS Code, but make sure that you're importing that from React Router DOM. Now we have this variable called history. What we can do with that is say history.push, and whatever we pass into this string here is going to be appended to the URL we currently are on. So we're effectively going to a new page. I'm gonna do the backticks again, because we're gonna put some, we're gonna interpolate a little bit. We're gonna say /generated. Now I'm going to just save this and make sure that this works at least. So I'm just gonna put in some text and click generate. And you can see up here in the URL, now we are at /generated. But when we go to that new component, we're gonna have to know the URL to the image, because when we get to the new component, we're gonna lose all of our state from the component we're on. So we need to actually have the URL so that we can display the image. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna use query strings. So I'm gonna put a question mark on the end of my URL and then an equal sign. I'm going to put question mark URL equals, and then the value is going to be interpolated in, which is going to be res.data.url. And when I save this, let's go ahead and see what that URL looks like now. So I'm gonna click generate, and you can see now we have /generated and then the URL right here. And if I cut this URL and paste it here, you can see that that is indeed the URL to the meme that I just generated. Awesome. So let's go ahead and create the new component where we're going to be displaying the meme we just generated. So to do this, I'm simply going to go back to my VS Code, and I'm going to create a new directory inside of source. And the directory is going to be called meme generated. And as usual, there's going to be two files inside of here. There's going to be styles.module.css, And there's also going to be meme generated.js. Now inside of here, I've got a snippet that just takes care of this boilerplate for me. I'm gonna call this component meme generated and save it. What we wanna do is go back into our app component and set up the router. So let's import a couple things from React Router DOM. We want to import two things specifically. We want to import switch and we want to import route. Now the way this is gonna work is I'm going to cut meme here and I'm going to put in a switch, okay? And inside of this switch component, we're gonna put routes. And whenever we have a route, we can pass in a prop to route called path. And we want to set the path equal to whatever the URL is going to be. In this case, let's just say /. So in other words, just the base path. Whenever we're just at /, we're going to put meme on the screen. I'm gonna copy this and put another one underneath it where we will have generated. So now the path for this second one is generated. And instead of meme, we want to put meme generated. But we have to make sure that we import meme generated. So let's go ahead and import that here, import, and then make sure you go into the directory and import the file. So if the path is / generated, we will load meme generated. If the path is /, in other words, just the base URL, we'll show meme. But inside of this route, I wanna make sure that I put exact, because if I don't put exact, if it doesn't match this exactly, we're always going to render meme because there will always be a / in the URL. So we want to make sure we put exact here in the first one. Let's save it and see what happens when I go to this. You can see we're rendering the meme component. Sweet. So let's go ahead and make sure that our routing works as expected. Just want to type in some stuff, click generate. Now it goes to the generate component. Awesome. So let's go ahead and set up our generate component to actually display the meme that we created. So to the meme generated component we go. So inside of here, I'm going to want to import a few things from React Router DOM. So let's go ahead and knock that out. Use history, but we're also going to want to use location. We're going to have use history and use location from React Router DOM, Cool. So let's go ahead and grab those. So we'll say const history is equal to use history. And then, const location is equal to use location. Now that we have access to those, what we want to do is grab that query string out. So we need the URL from the query string. So we're going to say const URL is equal to new URL search params, which is a method built into the web APIs. So it's just going to be available to you. And we're going to say location.search.get, and the name of the query string that we want to get is called URL because that's what we named it. Remember, it's got that question mark URL equals in the URL. So that's what this is. It's getting that particular query string out. We're also going to want to let's actually let's get the render portion set up first before we go into anything else. So let's go ahead and create a div inside of our return. And what we want to do is we want to say if URL, so URL and I'll explain that in a second if you're not familiar with short circuiting. So image, and then we're going to set the source equal to URL. What this is saying is if URL exists, if it's not undefined or an empty string or anything like that, then go ahead and render this out. Otherwise, it's just going to render this, which will be null or undefined or anything like that, so it won't show up. So this is kind of a common practice. I'm gonna save this. And let's see what happens. Oh, what do you know? It works. Sweet. So that works, but there's nothing on the screen. We're kind of blocked here. Like we can't do anything. There's a couple things we want to do. We want to have a button that when we click it, it copies the link to the image to the user's clipboard so that they can easily share it. So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we want to put a button, and I guess we'll put the button, let's have two buttons. One that says make more memes, which will take you back to the homepage. Let's do that one first because that'll be easier. So the first button has an on click. It takes history and it pushes /. So in other words, it's just going to send us to the / route. And then we're going to give it a class name equal to styles.home, but we have to import styles. So let's go ahead and do that. And we also have to add this, this style inside of our CSS file. So go ahead and open up your styles.module.css. And while we're here, we're going to go ahead and add these two classes here, .copy and .home, which is just a background color for the buttons. So saving that. So now we have our styles. And then inside of here, what we want to do is put some text that just says make more memes. And let me make sure the indentation is correct. Let's just make sure this works. So when I save it and I go here, I can see that there is in fact a button here that says make more memes. When I click it, it takes us back to the home page. Awesome. So when I click back, we end up here again. That works. Let's add one more thing. Let's take that container class that we had in our meme component. So inside of meme, we had this class in the CSS file called container. I'm going to copy that and I want to add it inside of meme generated as well. So I'm going to add that class here. Now we have a margin top, but I actually have to put that inside of our div. So class name is equal to styles dot, and then the class was container. So when I save it, now it's not scrunched up against the top anymore. And then now the final thing we have to do is just add that copy button. So the way that this is going to work is we're going to use that library that we installed at the beginning of the tutorial. So use clipboard copy is the library, and use clipboard is what we're going to import from that library. And simply what we will do, it's very simple, is we're going to add a function called copy link, and we're going to say clipboard.copy, but we actually have to have clipboard. And just like history and location, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to say const clipboard is equal to use clipboard. So now we have access to this clipboard variable, and we're going to say clipboard.copy URL, which is this URL right here. And we're going to set copied to true, which is going to be some state, which we need to add really quick. So let's go ahead and add this state, and I'll show you what we'll use this for in a moment. Copied and set copied, which is just going to be a Boolean in state. Make sure that you have use state imported up here. And we're going to initialize it to false, because when you load the component initially, you have not copied anything yet. So this will be false. And then we will set it to true when we run this copy link function. So we need to actually call copy link whenever we click a button. So let's add this button. Let's add it underneath the image. And the text for this button will just be a ternary. We're going to say if copied, we want to display link copied and an exclamation point. Otherwise, we want to have the text copy link. So this is really convenient for us to be able to display one of two different strings, depending on whether or not we have copied the text yet. And we want to add a class. So class name, we're going to set that equal to styles.copy, and we want to add that on click. Now remember, we have this copy link function, so we just simply want to on click, we want to run copy link. So let's see if this is all working. So I'm going to save this, and as you can see that this doesn't have like a margin top. Let's quickly add that margin top to this button. So that is the copy button. So let's go to the copy button, and let's just add a margin top really quick. I don't know, 20 pixels sounds good. That looks okay. So I'm gonna click this button, and now you can see the text here has changed to link copied. And when I paste, you can see that it takes us to the URL. So the link was actually successfully copied. So now we have a fully working app. We have a bunch of warnings here, and I just want to get rid of these. Let me check the terminal, and you can see that they're actually being displayed here as well. I want to get rid of these warnings, and all it's saying is image elements must have an alt prop. So with images, we want to add an alt prop. So let's do that really quick. We only have 2 images in the entire app. We have one inside of meme generated, and I'm going to give this an alt and set that equal to a string, and we'll call that meme. I'm going to copy this because we're going to do the exact same thing for our other image, which is located inside of meme.js. So if we go to this one and we scroll down to image, we can add alt equals meme right here as well. Save, and then you can see this compiled successfully with no warnings. So the only warnings you get are these cookie associated with cross-site resource. That's some stuff related to the API, and that is out of the scope of this tutorial. But now we have a fully working application. The final thing to do is going to be to go ahead and add the background image just to give it some sort of aesthetic, so they're not just looking at a plain screen. So if you remember, we have inside of our index CSS, we have these 2 lines right here, uncomment them. And we want to go ahead and add our background image, and I'm going to add it to the source folder. So take the background image. I've included a link in the description for you to get the background image. Go ahead, download it, and then rename it to bg.jpg and put it in your source folder. And let's see what happens when I go here. You can see we have the app. Now again, the very last thing I want to do is just have like a little caption at the top that says generate memes or make memes, meme creator maybe. So I'm going to go back to the app, and you can see this switch statement here. Well, I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to wrap that inside of a container and put it, I'm going to paste it back inside of here. And then on top of this, I just want to put an h1 tag that says, I don't know, meme creator. And go back, and now you can see we have a little bit better of an aesthetic going on. So if I just type in some stuff, click generate, we have a fully working app here. All right, everyone, that concludes this tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, please hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, and I will see you all in the next video.